everyone, welcome back to the channel. Artisan Pirate here, and welcome back to the Model Train / Nostalgia Room. In today's fun video, we're going to be once again going down memory lane and looking at another retro video game system. If you guys remember, in the last video we looked at the original Nintendo Entertainment System. Hopefully you can see it up there on the top shelf. It was the original Nintendo system released here in America. Had so many fond memories with that game, and I wanted to continue the series with the Super Nintendo. Of course, that was released next. So I have a box of games here, I have some controllers here, and I have a lot of memories that I want to share with you guys. But as I said in the original Nintendo Entertainment System video, when we looked at those games, not all of my gaming collection is in one place. As I said in the original video, I like to display my game systems in my room when I was in my teen years, and as my interest shifted and changed, got into more pirate stuff, history stuff, I started decorating with that stuff, and then I started slowly packing all the video game stuff away. So it's kind of scattered in different places. I know where a lot of it was, so that is what I'm showing you in today's video and in the last video when we looked at the original game system. But speaking of the original game system, I found 2 additional games for the regular Nintendo that I want to quickly share with you guys before we jump into the Super Nintendo. We have a game here in a black cartridge, and I don't know if this was an original Nintendo release, but it has RBI Baseball on it. Really neat game there. And then we have one that I do know is a licensed Nintendo game, and it is Mario is Missing. Has the nice protective shield here, this plastic. It's Mario is Missing with Bowser, Luigi, and Mario on the cover there. So these will be dusted off a little more so and put with the rest of the regular Nintendo games. But as I said, this video is about the next generation after the regular Nintendo, and that is the Super Nintendo. This is my childhood Nintendo here, and I have so many memories and nostalgia with this game that I'm eager to share with you on today's video. Has a nice sleek design here that's very iconic, a nice purple and gray color palette on it. You have the power button for on and off. You have the reset button here that just kind of slides up and down there to reset a game if you get stuck on a level. The game cartridges were very nice to look at and very pleasing to the eye, and they just went into the slot there, and you will hear it lock into place, and when you got done playing it, you would power the game off and hit the eject button that's there in the center, and you will see the game pop up. There it is, and you could swap games out and continue on your gaming journey. It does take 2 controllers here. Of course, a lot of the games released were 1-player games, but there was also a lot of 2-player games released that I remember playing fondly with family and friends. So I want to start with the controllers themselves, and what I'm trying to do over here on the shelves is put a controller with each of the systems. And what I did was went to Thingiverse for 3D printing and 3D printed out controller stands for the controllers you see back here on the shelves. Here we have the classic and iconic Super Nintendo controller, which was a huge step up, in my opinion, from the bulky and cumbersome, basic rectangle, square, Art Deco controller of the original Nintendo Entertainment System. But again, the stand is 3D printed, and I painted it a gray to hopefully match Nintendo's gray. The cord wraps around there. Again, I 3D printed stands for all of the controllers behind me, so I'm happy to display them like this. Of course, I'm thankful that we had multiple controllers when we had family and friends over to go on gaming journeys with, and I've got 2 additional controllers to share with you here, and I don't think they are licensed Nintendo controllers, but here they are. You have the Super Pad by Performance, so I guess it's not a licensed Nintendo controller, but it has the multicolor buttons there. And then you have the Turbo Touch 360, and I do vaguely remember playing with this game. It does have the touch screen buttons here. They're not like actual buttons you press, it's just kind of like sensitive to your fingers touch, and I remember the controller being so sensitive on certain games, like if you hit left, the character or card would really go left or really go right. Didn't use this controller a lot, but I do remember using it. It has these little toggle switches here that was supposed to help amplify the power, like if you were punching or kicking, it would really help you punch or kick harder, supposedly. That was the way it was marketed, I believe. And then we have the Nintendo mouse and mouse pad. Now this was Peripherals that was used for a few of the games. A couple of them I will show you here. We have the mouse pad here. That's the classic Nintendo gray with the logo there, as well as the mouse itself. I believe this was my very first interaction with a mouse, if not in school, so I was happy to have the little mouse there, and be able to play a few of the games on it. So really, really neat. But as I said, this is not all of the Super Nintendo collection. There is some games that were stored away when I originally packed everything away. I've already glanced down in the box over here on my chair that I'm going to share with you guys. And some games that I know are missing are the two Donkey Kong Countries I had, Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest, as well as Mortal Kombat 3. I had so many memories playing those games, and I remember playing Donkey Kong Country over and over again. So those were probably in my room displayed when I packed stuff away originally. But again, we do have a box of games here that I want to share with you guys. And I want to start with these little cases here. And I don't know if these were rental cases, like when you would rent a video game, but they do open. I was able to find 3 of them, and they were cleaned up for me, and the game just kind of went in here and locked in place. Again, my grandparents loved going to thrift stores, flea markets, garage sales, antique stores, so they might have been picked up secondhand like that. I remember we had about 7 or 8 of these, and we had the most frequently played games protected in these cases. But the game appropriately to kick off with is Super Mario World, still on a pedestal for a lot of people for the best 2D platforming game that's ever been released. So many iconic fixtures for the Mario World was released here. It introduced Yoshi, Mario's faithful steed and companion, and then he later on stood on his own 2 feet with his own spin-off games. So really cool, and I have a great memory with this game. I remember one year when I was still going to school, keep in mind the time frame of this game system, you know, the early 90s and everything, so I was maybe 6, 7, 8 years old. We had family staying over, and there was supposed to be snow the following day, so I was running back and forth between my family playing this game on the living room couch and then the other TV seeing if snow was going to cancel school, because then I'd be able to stay up late and watch my family continue through the game, because they were able to get a lot farther in the game than I was able to get, if that makes any sense. But I remember my mom finally telling me, hey, yeah, they have canceled school, you can stay up a couple more hours. And I remember running and diving back between my family members on the couch to continue watching them go along the journey in Super Mario World. So those are the memories that I really cherish when it comes to video games. But Super Mario World there. Next we have Super Mario Kart, the original Mario Kart game released. Again, a huge staple in the Nintendo franchises now. You have the cast of characters there on the cover. And I do have a few of these protective sleeves here that protected the chip that went down into the game for it to be able to read the game cartridge itself. Super Mario Kart there. I would like to get the latest one to play on the Nintendo Switch, because you guys know I do love playing the Nintendo Switch. Here we have Mario Paint with Mario in his best Picasso cosplay there on the front. And this is a game that did indeed take the Nintendo mouse and mousepad just due to the artistic nature. You know, I kind of think of like the original Paint for computers. That was kind of what this was. But I remember also playing a lot of the mini games that was on here, as well as playing in the music side of it. There was ways you could make music with the icons from the Mario World franchise and the characters. When Mario would jump on them, it would make a different sound effect, and you could make your own tune and jingle. Spent a lot of time playing that, and again, it's one of those games that did use the Nintendo mouse and mousepad. Here we have Porky Pig's Haunted Adventure. I do remember playing this, but I don't have many fond memories of it because I wasn't able to get very far in the game. Remember, back then when I was very younger, my reading comprehension isn't what it is now, so I was not able to read like a lot of the signs. Like if you'd walk up to a sign and click it, like I could understand like move forward, move left, you know, you got to defeat this person or that person. I could understand that, but a lot of it was like, you know, sometimes if a game had a riddle in it, I wouldn't understand that. So this might be a game I would like to revisit. You know, I'd like to see it released on the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack to be able to play it and enjoy it. Here we have Power Rangers, the Fighting Edition. So here we have the game where you were able to pilot and fight with the Megazords to fight the bad guys that the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers were often up against in giant size. They had a nice kind of like Street Fighter-esque vibe to it. I do remember that, and I do believe this was at one time a rental game, so there might have been the sticker going around like, you know, rent from this place or whatever, so the game was probably picked up secondhand. I do remember my family rented this game for me, and then later on went out and actually got it for me because I enjoyed it so much. Here we have Turtles 4, Turtles in Time, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I do remember playing this a lot with my family. my friends, so to speak, my childhood best friend, we really sunk a lot of time into this game trying to get to the end where the turtles went through different time zones. You could play with 2 controllers, the co-op mode, which was really cool back in the day and is still cool in today's world, but cooperative play, and I would always try to pick Leonardo or Michelangelo because at the time those were my favorite turtles. Of course, you have Michelangelo, Leonardo, Donatello, and Raphael, and as I've gotten older, I kind of like the vibe that Raphael gives off, but all of the Ninja Turtles are very cool. Very cool and sleek game there. Here we have pieces. And as I said in the original Nintendo Entertainment System video, some of these games were probably my mom's as well because I remember playing this game, but not very much. So she likes putting together puzzles as my grandmother did. They found it very relaxing and therapeutic. So they were able to put puzzles together without actually digging out a puzzle box and all the pieces and a table to put it together on, if that makes any sense. But I do remember playing the game. Here we have Doom, rated M for mature. So I know Nintendo started to embrace the more aggressive style games. I know back when I was younger, on the schoolyard, it was kind of like, hey, Nintendo's for kids, you know, and the more modern games are, you know, are for the real gamers, so to speak. But Nintendo did eventually lean into the more aggressive style of games, and it's got a nice red cartridge there. Once again, Doom, and the sticker is sadly a little damaged there. Here we have ESPN Speed World, and I have a lot of fond memories with this game because I was a huge NASCAR fan growing up, especially of Dale Earnhardt. Him being from North Carolina, I'm from North Carolina and from North Carolina, so it was always cool rooting for the hometown hero, seeing that black number 3 go around the racetrack. And I've always loved racing games. Whenever we would go to the arcades, I was always putting my quarters into the racing games, you know, where you could sit in like a lifelike chair, steering wheel, gear shift, and all that. You know, a lot of my friends like the platformer games and fighting games, but I was always a racing game fan, and still am. Here we have Wheel of Fortune, and once again, this was probably my mom's game because she loves that show, and I believe in the original Nintendo Entertainment System video there was a Jeopardy cartridge, so we have both shows covered here, Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy. I do remember playing this a little myself. Vegas Stakes, a casino-style game. Again, this was one of those games that I really couldn't maximize back in the day because of the reading comprehension. You know, I did like to play the roulette wheel and blackjack because I did know how to play them by other people teaching me how to play them. But I didn't know till later on that you could go to different casinos, you know, and travel. I was always stuck on the one, kind of just puttering around, going to all of the game tables and everything. But this was a game that my cousin would borrow and play. She really enjoyed it as well. So Vegas Stakes there. And that was another game that went with the mouse and mouse pad peripheral. Here we have Super Bases Loaded, a baseball style game, and I do remember playing this game a lot. Really cool springtime game to play. The original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game with the classic OG Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on the cover there. I can't remember if this was an RPG game or not. Would have to load it and see. Here we have F-Zero, and I believe this was also one of the launch titles for the Super Nintendo. I do have some memories playing it, but I have more fond memories now with the Nintendo Switch Online retro game library, to where, again, I could just enjoy it and maximize it to its full potential. The Incredible Crash Test Dummies. I remember having the Crash Test Dummies toys as a kid, so it was cool to be able to play with them on the TV in a video game aspect. Really nice classic logo there for the sticker. Here we have the Super Game Boy, an added peripheral that was able to let you play your Game Boy and Game Boy Color games on a bigger TV. I have my Pokemon Yellow cartridge here, and it loads into the game here, and you would turn the Nintendo on and it would be on your TV screen. So it was great to not be able to look at that little small screen, you know, that I played hours upon hours on in the back of the family van going places, you know. So you was able to play your games on the big screen for a little while. So the Super Game Boy there. Here we have Mortal Kombat 2. Don't have a little don't have a lot, excuse me, of fond memories playing this. I think this was picked up right around the time I was getting out of the Super Nintendo and getting ready to transition into the Super Nintendo 64. And then the original Mortal Kombat game. And again, this is not a game that I have a lot of fond memories with. I do remember playing it with friends, but my fond memories with the Mortal Kombat series is Mortal Kombat 3, because my cousin, who liked to borrow Vegas stakes, had the cheat book to where you could put in the codes to have one button finishing moves. You know, it wasn't a big button combination to finish the guy off. You know, you could hit one button and they would unleash their finishing move. I believe the code on the start screen was up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B, A, and then select or either start to unleash to unlock the cheat menu. So fond memories with that, as I said. Here we have Tiny Toon Adventures, Buster Bust Loose. Has Buster Bunny there on the cover. Tiny Toon Adventures was a show that I always look forward to watching. Here we have Spider-Man, X-Men, Arcade's Revenge. That's what it says there on the top, with a nice Marvel graphic there with the X-Men and Spider-Man. I'm a huge X-Men fan, and I love Wolverine's character and just how he's portrayed in the movies and everything by the actors and everything. But you have Spider-Man there prominently featured on the cover. I do also like Spider-Man. Here we have another copy of Buster Bust Loose from Tiny Toon Adventures. Again, it might have been picked up secondhand at a yard sale or a thrift store. Here we have Top Gear. Again, I'm a huge fan of racing games, and I do remember playing this. I still enjoy racing games. I just picked up on sale on the downloaded option on the Nintendo Switch Online feature a NASCAR game. They had it on sale for like $3 during Christmas, and I got to play through all of the classic tracks and everything, so that was real cool for me to do during Christmas. Here we have Super Punch-Out, and I do remember playing this game, and I never got to the very end of it and became world champion. I would always get stuck on the second character. I believe I beat the second boxer in the game a couple times, and I was so excited that I immediately lost in the third round, you know. But Super Punch-Out here. Again, I don't know, this was not Mike Tyson's. Mike Tyson's was on the other one, but yeah, some fond memories of playing that game. And we have two more games here. Here we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters, so a Street Fighter-esque game where the turtles could fight in arcade style against the bad guys. Has Donatello there on the cover, which is weird, you know, with his purple bandana, you know, with Leonardo the Blue being the leader. But a nice graphic there. And then the final game for now is Toy Story. Again, my mom took me to see the movie when it came out in theaters, or my parents did, I can't remember which. It was so long ago, but I remember seeing on the big screen, you know, like the computer-generated movie, and just being blown away by that kind of technology at the time. And I do remember playing this game. I remember Woody with his pull string in the back. I think you could use it as like a whipping motion, you know, to beat the bad guys in the game. But really cool. That is all of the Super Nintendo games here. Again, there is more, but they are packed away from when I originally took down the retro video game stuff in my room. So again, as I continue to find stuff, like I found the 2 additional regular Nintendo games after cleaning up a little bit more, I will continue to share it over here on the platform. The next game system that came out for Nintendo, of course, is the Nintendo 64. Have a lot of memories with that, but then the one I have the most memories with is the Nintendo GameCube with the little 3-inch disc. That is where my gaming journey kind of really began. You know, I always kind of played video games, Game Boy, you know, played games on the computer, but that is when I really started to thoroughly enjoy video gaming, and I'm looking forward to getting to the Nintendo GameCube stuff. But I hope you guys have also enjoyed this spin-off series. We started with the Nintendo Entertainment System, and now we've looked at the Super Nintendo, the Super NES as it's called. But I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys have enjoyed going down memory lane with me. That's about all for this one. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you'll click that subscribe button and follow me across all my social media feeds under the Artisan Pirate name. As always, links to contact me as well as all my social media feeds will always be linked down in the description box below these videos. That's about all for this one, and remember guys, if I can make it or do it, so can you. I'm the Artisan Pirate. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon.